Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome back to the Sunday coffee morning. Grab yourself a coffee, get comfortable, because we've got loads to talk about this week. I'm back in the 16s after another pound loss, so we'll have a look at that, see how things are going as I edge ever closer to maintenance. I was also invited on the Downsized podcast this week, so I'll tell you a little bit about that and talk about the experience and why I really enjoyed it. And I have ever so quietly, without any fanfare at all, past a milestone with YouTube. So we will touch on that briefly. And as always, of course, we've got this week's pet peeve of the week, and I've got a new idea for it that I think you're going to really enjoy. And then I'll answer some of the questions that you've sent in before we finish. I'll give you a little bit of a heads up on what's coming on Wednesday, which is going to tackle one of the biggest questions I've ever been asked on Mounjaro. So grab yourself a coffee, settle in, and we'll get straight on with it. So I am Amanda's midlife, and I have lost over £80 now on my medicated weight loss journey. This channel is all about highlighting the highs, talking about the lows, and all those little wobbly, boring bits in the middle. I inject 10 milligrams every single Sunday into my belly, and then we get together on a Sunday and we have a bit more of a chill chat about things. So this week, I am back into the 16s, but I'm not going to do a silly little dance this time, because the last time I did a silly little dance, a week later, I was back into the 17s. So my starting weight was £319. I am now back down to £237. So that is an £82 loss once again. I'm still not tracking calories. I'm still sort of playing it by ear, trying to judge and hope that I'm eating the right things at the right times with the right macros. There's no rhyme nor reason to anything I'm doing at the moment. I just really wanted to experiment to see if I was able to use some of the experience I've learned over the last 12, 13 months to enable me to eat healthy, eat right, but without picking up the phone every 2 seconds and adding it into an app. It is purely an experiment. And if at any point I need to go back to tracking calories, I start putting weight on, I've got no qualms in doing that whatsoever. If you want to watch that video where I explain the whole situation with tracking calories, I'll pop it on the screen right now. So all in all, it's not been a bad week. I'm a pound down. More than happy with that at this stage of the game. I feel like I'm doing all the right things. Not been a lot of gym action, and I don't think there will be next week because I'm away for a few days. I've got a training course one day and I'm in a meeting the other day. It's not excuses, it's reasons. Right, so last week I was on the Downsized Dish podcast. They've got a YouTube channel. I'll put a link to it on the screen right now. It was a really interesting experience. It was really fun experience. Christopher, who is the host of the podcast, of the channel, along with his partner Lorraine, absolutely fantastic. It really put me at ease. I was quite nervous going into it. Check it out, because I think there may be a few things you didn't know about me over there. And I'll give you a bit of a spoiler alert. My real name is not Amanda's Midlife. But honestly, go and check it out. It's really interesting. It's a great channel. I'd imagine many of you following this channel are probably already following that channel, because they are the kind of the OG Mounjaro and weight loss channel. It was a really cool experience, and it was really interesting. I found it really nice to be able to talk to a person rather than generally I sit here and I'm talking to a camera. I don't know if anyone's going to watch, and there's certainly no one watching me while I film it. So it was nice to talk to a real life person about this, and that's kind of one of the reasons why perhaps there will be a Q&A coming up, which is going to be live. Yes, I'm going to put on my big boy pants and I'm going to do my first ever live. Now, hold your horses, because I don't think it's going to be until the start of September, because I'm away for 3 weeks in August off my holidays. Now, the other thing, the channel Amanda's Midlife has recently passed a little bit of a milestone, and no one is more surprised about this than me, because when I started this channel, it was purely to document me, hopefully getting smaller, getting healthier, and just sort of having something to look back on, in years to come. That was me, and that was my journey, and this is what I went through, and look at the difference it's made. Look at me now, that kind of thing. Well, last week, the channel passed 4,000 subscribers. Yes, 4,000 subscribers. Just saying that absolutely blows my mind. It really does. When I started this, I thought, I'd probably get maybe 100 people watching, or maybe 150 people subscribed to the channel, absolute maximum. And it's just creeped up and up and up over the last 12, 13 months. What I want to do is I want to thank every single one of you that watches the videos, every single one of you that's taken the effort to comment and like my videos, and of course, for pressing that subscribe button. It really does allow me to look at the topics, the broader, maybe the mental health problems that come with losing weight and obesity and BMIs and all that kind of stuff. So from the bottom of my heart, I really do thank you. And of course, don't forget to like this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. If you've got a Q&A, leave it down below in the comments. And also pet peeve of the week, leave that down below in the comments. Now, whilst we're talking about pet peeve of the week, so many of you have sent in pet peeves and it's absolutely amazing. Now, I had a little bit of guilt where I thought the other day, all these amazing pet peeves are coming in and I'm only ever using one a week. So I am going to do a whole video about pet peeves. So if you've got a pet peeve and you haven't sent it in, please send it in and I'm going to do a whole video about your pet peeves and me. Basically, it's going to be a video of me moaning about the stuff that makes you moan. So if you can get on board with that, that'd be absolutely amazing. And again, leave it down below in the comments if you could, please. So another thing I wanted to talk about, when I started this journey, one of the big driving factors for me was about longevity, healthy living, wellness. I'm 54 next week, and I wanted to make sure I was going to be around for as long as I possibly could. And when I say around, I mean alive. It's as simple as that. I've got a 4-year-old grandson, absolutely gorgeous little lad. And that really drove me to try this medication and kind of kept the enthusiasm going over the tough times as well. Now, breaking news, I have now got another grandson. I have got a newborn grandson. My son and his wife have had another little baby boy. And if anything, all that's going to do is really encourage me to keep driving forward, get to that go way and be around so I can enjoy them and enjoy them growing up into the amazing people they're going to be. Right, now we're going to look at the questions that you have sent in this week. There's only a couple. I'm guessing because it's summer, everybody's out doing fun stuff, away on holiday or vacation or whatever, and they're not sat in front of their TVs or their phones watching videos on YouTube, and I don't blame you for that one little bit. As always, I am not a medical professional, I am not a wellness expert, I am purely a middle-aged chubby man sat in his dining room in front of a camera who has taken these weight loss medications now for around about 13 months. I am purely sharing my experience. If you are ever in any doubt, speak to your medical professional, speak to your GP or speak to your pharmacy. And our first question is from Sunshine1225. Does insurance in the UK cover GLP-1 medications for diabetics or weight loss? It's a little bit different in the UK than it possibly is in the rest of the world because we are able to get it on the National Health Service, the NHS. However, it's incredibly hard to get it on the NHS. If you go to your GP, they can refer you to an obesity specialist. You have to jump through a lot of hoops and you need to have a BMI of over 40 with at least 3 to 4 diagnosed weight-related health issues or conditions. It is near on impossible. I know one person who is getting it off the NHS and he has a YouTube channel and that is Gav. So check out Gav's journey to weight loss because he is getting Wegovy on the NHS now. Typically, insurance isn't really a thing in the UK. You can get medical insurance, but it's generally to cover you should you need treatment, an operation, or let's just say, for example, you've got a knee injury and you need to have an operation on your knee. That insurance will cover that, or a hip replacement. It is very expensive, but it's not really the kind of thing where you can go to them and say, I'm obese, I'm overweight, I've been paying X amount of money a month and I want to go on to Wegovy or Mounjaro or one of the GLP-1s. It's not really a thing. So what we have to do is we tend to approach what you would call telehealth, which for us is an online pharmacy. We do an application, we send in photos. If they're happy with your BMI, they're happy with your photos, they will prescribe the medication. You pay them direct. They send the medication out to you via post. It's as simple as that. You do have to jump through a certain amount of hoops. You have to fill in your medical history, medical conditions currently, and they do let your GP know that you're taking this medication. However, the last time I spoke to my GP, when I went to see him about my ouchy shoulder, they didn't realise I was on Mounjaro. So it could be there's a little bit of a flaw in the system. That is how it works in the UK. I'd be really interested to know how it works where you are. Let me know down below in the comments how it works wherever you may be in the world. Right, our next question today is from David Palmer 5290 Q&A. I just bought some dumbbells. I picked one up equal to the weight I've lost so far. It scared me silly about how much weight I was carrying 24/7, upstairs, downstairs, every single minute of the day. Does it affect you like that when you think of the weight loss in those terms? The weight can never go back on. It really blows my mind, absolutely astounds me, the weight I used to carry with me and not even think it was a problem. It was not an issue. And when I was to walk into the gym and try and pick up a 37 kilo dumbbell, which is the weight I've lost, I wouldn't be able to do it. I just wouldn't be able to do it. So how on earth was I walking around with that weight every single day? That is all the questions we got for this week. If I haven't read out your question today, it's not because I don't like it, it's not because it offended me, it's not because it's too stupid, it's purely because I need to be wary of how long I'm going to make the videos, so it will feature on a future Sunday coffee morning. That is an absolute promise. Right, let's have a look at this week's pet peeve of the week, and it is from Lidster27. Pet peeve: people that say just have one small packet of crisps, just one chocolate bar, or just one beer, because they don't understand it's never just one, is it? I can relate to this massively, because the old version of me, the 22 stone 11 version of me, was a greedy man, and I would binge eat. I would buy chocolate, I would buy a massive bar of dairy milk, and I would eat the whole thing in one sitting, and then I would eat that and think, I now need something salty, and then I would go and find some crisps to eat or some cheese, and yeah, it was a horrible position to be in. However, Lidster, this is where I'm going to maybe challenge your pet peeve just a tiny little bit. I'm a great believer now, as I sit here 13 months later, that I can have one small packet of crisps, or I can have one small chocolate bar, because for me, I wanted to normalise what I was eating. I wanted to make it acceptable for me to still eat the things that I enjoy, but in smaller quantities. Now, if I turn the clock back 12, 13 months, 100% agree with you, because I wouldn't have been able to stop. Now, possibly don't agree with that as a pet peeve, because I'm trying to learn that I can eat those nice things in smaller sizes, in more what normal people would eat, or what I would call a normal person. But I get where you're coming from. I just don't think I'm in the right place to agree with that as a pet peeve for me. But obviously, the pet peeve of the week is not necessarily ever going to be my pet peeve. It is all about your pet peeves, isn't it? And if that's one of the things that annoys you, then get it off your chest. Right, before we finish and I leave you in peace to enjoy the rest of your weekend, I just want to quickly talk about Wednesday's video, because I think it's going to be one of the most important videos I've made. I'm tackling a question I've been asked so many times over the past few months, and it appears in the comments an awful lot. And the topic of Wednesday's video is, will I have to stay on Mounjaro forever? I'm going to look at what the evidence says. I'm going to look at what happens when people stop these medications, and why doctors are now treating obesity as a long-term condition. So if you've ever wondered what happens after you reach your target, I think you're going to want to watch that one. If you've enjoyed today's coffee morning, I'd really appreciate it if you could give the video a like. It genuinely helps the channel reach more people. If you'd like to support the channel a little bit more, you can become a member of the channel. You'll get a few extras, a few behind the scenes looks, some members only posts, and of course you will help support the channel. As always, thank you so much for spending part of your Sunday morning with me. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will pop last week's video on the screen right now, and a video that YouTube thinks you're going to absolutely love. But more important than all that, Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will see you on Wednesday. Thanks ever so much for watching.